Hey, good day. Corrie here, coming in to do my weekly channeled message and also trying to get those astrology monthlies out that I'm still working on. But I had to take a break, had a family emergency come up where, I had to allow myself to be with that energy. As you can see, I have moved positions, and that's not a bed. That's a day bed behind us that you're seeing pop in there. And so today's message and where we're going with this. So I'm reading through the energy and I'm asking Spirit to guide me through this one today, as this one does feel as if this calls in for healing, and it calls in for us to be able to return to some sense of dignifying each other as the human race, as a human being. So as we go through and as we bring in this energy, I call in that of the divine presence, of the divine and the holy, to be with us during this session today, or during this, whatever this weekly message is that I'm bringing forth, as I'm evolving and growing myself, and as I'm ascending and having experiences that I can't deny or that I can no longer hide. And when I see, the essence of sometimes when people are unaware or fear what you are and who you are and what you do, you hide who you are for a long time. And for myself, in my journey, what I noticed was that I downplayed a lot of who I was, or I hid a lot of my gifts. And I know many have seen my work as mediumship and stuff come up, but I see spirit, and I see the essence of the spirit that exists within us. So when I work with people, wherever your human has been, that's been your human journey. Whatever your human struggles are, you are not identified or labeled by your challenges, your struggles, the labels that society puts on us, and that sense of illusions of self is then we become that character and we create that role. And I don't see that when I work with people. When I work with people, I see the aspects of your spirit. I see the life that is waiting to be exhaled outside. I see the essence of how Jesus would have seen us all. I see us all as the opportunity for us to be kinder, pure in our thoughts and our words, and kinder to ourselves. And when we look at humanity and we look at where we're going and we look at what we're doing as a human race, or what we're allowing, is that we are taking at face value a specific amount that is dehumanizing us, dividing us, using fear to instill a sense of separation. Whereas as a leader myself, as someone who steps up as a leader, what I really truly, the first thing that I encompass by saying that I see spirit in people is I start with compassion, and having compassion for where people are, having compassion for their whys, for their fights, for, that whole being misunderstood. Spent a lifetime being misunderstood, most of all by misunderstanding myself. So I have that compassion. It's like, I hear you, I see you, I believe that your story has value, and I believe in you. And as great leaders, and as we take on any role as a leader, whether you're a parent, whether you're a partner to somebody, is first of all is to have compassion for each other, and to return to some sense of dignity, is that we want to be, divinely dignified. And that's the fact that we stop being the sense of keyboard warriors and believing the narratives of stories that hold us hostage. And not saying that either story has absolute truth, or that some things don't exist, but every human being has the capability to have a dark side and a good side. And so you can't help when somebody else's fear story or somebody else's fears or past experiences of hurt then starts to lead their way, but you can help yours. You can truly control yours. And as we watch, as we sit back and we become an observer of what we're observing, I'm not observing the everyday people that are out there. I'm observing the action and behaviors of those who should be held accountable in the sense of lack of compassion and caring and kindness, of, first of all, diffusing fear. The first thing we should do is diffuse fear, not to cause more fear. And so any place that has the ability to cause that fear, to pin one against the other, does not take ownership and responsibility for their own actions. They are blaming the rest of the world for what is happening. And they have to have someone to blame instead of saying, we need to do things differently. So when we look at the big energy and we look at what's happening and we go inward and we take ourselves into that place of allowing ourselves to go there, one of the greatest experiences that has been life-changing for me was the ability to, and because I can see with my eyes wide open, not just the human, but to see beyond, was my experience with the light. And I've had too many to deny this. And as I stood with the light, and as I was in a moment yesterday of gratitude and truly asking, you know, who do I need to become to be the best version of me for the world that we're existing within? To not to want to engage and become a bigger part of the problem, but to, how do I be a part of the solution? And with this big white light came. First of all, I got to take this off, guys. I'm sorry. I can't block it where I am. I'm like, this is driving me insane. It's false. It's fake. Why is it not coming off? So I'm in the middle of changing off this. This is not a bed. This is a day bed. I bought this for my place to sit and write and do whatever, and just in case company need to come, but now it's going out into my granddaughter's room as she's coming out of the crib and going into a bed. And so I'm changing, you know, I'm evolving, growing, so I'm allowing myself to be here, but in this light, and see, I can't do false. So when I sat yesterday, this light appeared, and I just heard, just really open your eyes, like really open your eyes. Don't look at the media, don't look at the news, don't look even at the people. Look beyond everything. Look into me. And this is not my first experience. And how it first started was in having to, you know, contemplate, do I defend myself in a position in the way of just acknowledging that somebody is making an accusation or a judgment that I'm not, you know, that I'm not of God, or I don't believe in God, or I don't work with Jesus, or because, you know, there's an appearance, an image of the kind of person people think we are. And so instantly, I haven't even read it back, but I just know it came from somewhere outside of myself, and it was one of love. Just, you know, honor who you are. If that's your belief, you honor that, you can stay in that. But that essence of, you know, don't make it, and don't assume you know who I am. You want to know who I am, talk to me, right? But when I finished that, and I just heard this message, look straight ahead, like look ahead, look beyond anything else that's happening, look into me. And as I started to look forward and I started to see, I could see the light. And I know this light, I've walked through this light. I call it the light, the Christ-like light. And as I walk through this, I always know that it is the essence of Jesus beyond the crucifixion, of that death and out of the cave, the rise again. And it is the one that is beyond any human. And it's the essence of spirit. And as I looked deeply, I could feel this essence moving towards me. And then it was like the image of the cross, but he wasn't in pain on the cross. There wasn't suffering. there was a smile. There was this beautiful energy, and I could feel this light enter into my third eye. Sounds crazy. But what I've come to really realize in all of these experiences and in that moment, when that light became that part of me, and I could see this cloak and so many other things were unfolding, was that that's the ability that with our eyes wide open, we can go so deep within. We can keep our eyes open. We can walk in this world. But that place of godliness, that place of pure thought, pure consciousness, pure awareness, is the ability to breathe so deep into ourselves that we can have such a sense of not allowing our thoughts to be manipulated to create a story about who and what we think people are. But that we can see the green, I call it the green grass. When we see green grass without weeds, we can see everybody with love. We can see everybody with a deep-seated compassion, a caring, that everyone has that sense of self that exists within us. And if we can get to that point, if we can allow our eyes to stay open, to look beyond it all, to walk down and amongst and in the people, and to not to have a narrative about how we believe them to be such inhumane creatures. Because every story that you believe, that you are hearing, is coming from an opinion. And you believe those opinions based on the narrative of the story and the little speck of what you want to see. Well, bring that inward to you. In that moment, in that experience, my first thought would be, why me? Why me to sit in this pure light? What have I done that's so great? And then it really showed me and reminded me, why not you? Why not all of us? Why not all of us exist in this beautiful energy? When we stop finding and nailing out like all of the faults, all of the things that are wrong with us, when we can show ourselves this mercy, it's amazing what can unfold. Our truest of selves is not hid. Our truest of selves is well hidden because we choose to hide it and protect it. Well, some of the truest of selves is the things that starts to care enough to be the changes that we need to see in the world or to make some changes. But to dehumanize another human, to fulfill a narrative of our own story, to intentionally set out to cause that kind of hurt, struggle, to divide people, to do those things is downright wrong. And there's no way of making that right. And when we do that, or we sit in that energy, we really have to take a really good look at the character that we are within ourselves, if that's where you are. So allowing our thoughts to be pure. If we turn off, shut down, not listen to the negative that's in the world, if we don't support it, we don't support those outlets, if we don't support that energy may change its tune and start to realize that you're not going to be supported that way, because we're going to open our eyes wide open. So we as a society, as a world, we are being broken wide open. As Jesus comes in to tell me from spirit, not from the man who walked, not from the man who they put on the cross, because every one of those people who are out there right now, they're actually now being put on a cross. Yeah. And so where in our lives do we put somebody else on a cross and sit back and have such conviction that it's okay? That it's okay. Where do we put ourselves on those crosses and tell ourselves a story that it's okay? and it's not. Look at the story of the witches. Look at the story of Jesus. Look at the story of all of those things. And that's where we are right now. We have a major shift about to unfold. We have great potential to become a dignified world. We have great potential to become, individual and to grow and to evolve. But we also have the potential to become more suppressed than we ever were before. And we have the opportunity to be the voices, to be the change that we want to see. And as for the judgment about me and my relationship to Jesus, he wasn't a man inside of a church. When he was claimed and owned by the church, where did that come from? Who did that? He walked amongst his people. The greatest of leaders, the person that he was, or what he represents, was that about the human who has the ability to not to lead above, but to lead with compassion. But those that wanted to demonize him, to make him out to be something that he wasn't, are we not seeing that again right now? And we have to pay close attention, by not in our minds, not in our mind stories, not in our emotions, but by opening our eyes wide open. When you can open your eyes, when you can allow yourself to see that there is this beautiful light force energy called love. And not the love for power, or not the love to be somebody, not the love for that, but the love. Just like the love for the people, the love for the country, the love for those things that are greater than. And so when we can allow ourselves to see beyond, when we can allow ourselves to look at the bigger picture, to let the authentic, true vision to unfold, we don't see how the narrative of how we've identified and labeled people. We see the hearts. And when we can see the hearts, we can see the struggles. We can see the pain. We can see those things. We can see the frustration. And we can see truth. And we can see that things that take us away from our true selves. And when we start to allow ourselves to come back into us, that heaven is so deep inside of us. There's nothing on earth that will ever give you the feeling of heaven other than to be able to be at peace with where you are, to be at peace within yourself, to be at this sense of being content. And so this beautiful light, as it stepped in, as it unfolded, this energy, this truth, was this state of grace and a joy and a love that just felt, my heart just felt on such a level that I couldn't explain. And so when asked, because I don't sit in a pew in a church, doesn't mean that I'm not in relationship to God. How I view it, how I see it, does it matter? As long as we are living divinely dignified, and we are being kind and caring and compassionate, and we're not intentionally setting out to cause hurt or harm to other individuals, that we are here for each other, that we say eye to eye, I can see you, I can feel you, I can feel your pain, and yes, you have a right to question. Yes, you have the right to second opinions. Yes, you have a right, because that allows our eyes to open. That allows our hearts to open. But who and how we are, and who we identify, how we identify other people, those grand illusions. And if you have not ever stopped to think about other than this one little dimensional world, there's so many things, because there's a pathway that was created for the human way to be. And that was called programming. And that is those grand illusions, such as thought, self, time, control, There's some strong, strong illusions that exist that are not really truths, that don't really have a full truth to them. Neither does the stories. Neither does the hurt. So we can take allow our emotions to just like travel through, not get connected to them, to just know that, what is that motive, and to not allow ourselves to live in the blind spot, not to allow ourselves to be fooled by that. Happiness is created within. Peace is created within. And when we make a choice to continue to fill up on negative, when pumped into our systems, pumped into our world, pumped into us, is fear, fear, fear. We wonder why we have mental illness. We wonder why we have anxiety and depression when you're not allowed to be you, when you have to surrender over you, when you have to be only what somebody else tells you to be, when you're being forced to do things that just your body is absolutely saying no to, but your instincts are not allowed to operate for themselves. When you are being forced by a society, when you're told the way to think, when you're told the way to live, what do you think happens to humans? What do you think? We're here to be expression of creativity. We're here to be the creators of our own worlds. And when it is dominated and controlled, what happens to us? So if you were dominated and controlled by controlling, dominating parenting and being, feared into faith, feared into religion, well, where's your faith? Because you didn't have faith in you. You had faith in a false reality. This is us being able to start to look at ourselves and to come into this place of knowing that what triggers us the most is the fact that we were given a dictionary. But if we let love speak, if we let the vibration speak, if we let music speak, if we let ourselves speak without words, if we let ourselves speak without words, we would be expressions. We would be able to not be able to use those words and change it into another way. Everybody perceives words to be different. Nobody has the same reaction to words and the energy behind it. If you read a news article, your emotions are what's defining what that news article means to you. If you're reading a text, how you're reading the text is how you're feeling inside of you. How you're reading a message is what you're perceiving, and you're turning it into what you want it to be, to fulfill your own self-prophecy, to either deflect off you what you don't want to have to face, or to be able to look onto, or to be able to pass it on to another, or to be able to create a story, a narrative about who you want somebody to be, to play out that role for you. And when we can set ourselves free of that, when we can move beyond that, when we can see through the eyes of the spirit and not to exist just in the energy, when we let go of the energy of it, and we can allow spirit, we can allow this beautiful light, when this light walks into me, I go to a place so deep inside of myself that I know it's heaven. Why would we wait to get to heaven, to live in heaven, when we have the ability, and why we were here was to create heaven on earth? But instead, our mind is the minefield of hell. And that sense that we have leadership that is placing our minds into hell just so they can create their own heaven in their own story, their own false heaven, is actually going to be a downfall. You are going to see an empire fall. You're going to see the everyday people stand up. Because inside of the heart of the matter is that people have to be at peace with the fact that they could not sit by and watch their world, watch their lives, watch themselves be crucified. And so as we are in this time and these experiences, that we have the ability to send love, to come from a place of this pure white light within us, to send love out into the world, to spread love, to change all the narrative, take over social media. Take over social media everywhere with love, with light. Spread love, spread light, spread love messages, light messages. Talk only of love, spread it. Turn off the meat, turn off the news. I don't care which news it is, turn it all off until they can learn to open their eyes to look beyond, till we can get to that point to see inspiration, to tell inspirational stories about each other, to speak of greatness, to speak of that story of, you know, what about your little person down on the corner who's been trying to keep their store open, who has no other income? Government don't pay our way. They give us a loan that has put us further into debt. We don't have those guaranteed incomes and salaries. We can't take sick days and stay home. Those little people, that's not the world they exist within. Have compassion for those worlds that people do exist in, that also then provide for the comforts of your world. That we provide those places and those comforts as everyday people. And I am one of those everyday people, as are you. Compassion, and beyond compassion is caring. So as I stepped into that light, as that beautiful light just became a larger part, all I could see and feel and just know was that we have to turn ourselves like inside out. The world is full of shadows. And those shadow selves are becoming darker and darker. We need to turn the lights back on. We need to open our hearts. We need to bring back the sense of humanity. And we need to purify our thoughts away from all that they've told us, the narrative that gets pushed on us, and to be able to be clear. Because all of the energy comes from the power of words. And the power behind words can break and divide a society. We want to change the world, we need a bridge. And that bridge starts from the heart to the higher self. A world that is being controlled by the emotions, ruled by emotions, will never be a world that can succeed. We have to rise above that, get into our higher selves, of that of the holy realm, of that of the divine, of that of beautiful wisdom and wise ones. What would they have done? What would they have done? Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. One of the bigger messages. So if you're also talking negative about everyone else, you're also talking negative about yourself. So start with you. Start with you. Start bringing that magic back in. And if there's somebody that you quickly are assuming something about, take the time to talk to them. Take the time to get to know them. Because I'm willing to bet if you were blindfolded and you were put in the presence of someone that you've already labeled, but you didn't know that's the person you're going to sit with, when you heard their story, you'd have a different story. You wouldn't feel the same way because the heart would connect. And so it's time for us to do this to ourselves. It's also for ourselves and for the world, and not to hide who we truly are, not to downplay who people are. Allow people to be their true selves, not to identify people by roles, not by their jobs, not by their past, not by their illnesses. Your illness is not your name. It's not your identity. You're so much greater than that. And is there a possibility that we can all heal? Yes. Is there a possibility? We are greater than our thoughts. We're greater than our worst day. We are greater than our sadness. We are greater than all of that. We are so much more than all of those things. We got to come into that place of creating that heaven within. And when we do, it's amazing how much more we will be able to see the world so differently. The ability to be able to see beyond with my eyes wide open is probably the greatest gift, and the one that I hid the most to just try to fit into a world. I'm not here to fit in. I'm not here to belong. I'm not here for a popularity contest. I'm here because God knows that I am a voice of love. And when you lose that in yourself, you find yourself deteriorating. And I can no longer deteriorate, can no longer be what anything else in the world wants us to be. There's a truth of love and light that exists within all of us. If we want heaven, we have to make peace with all of this. And to know that this light has given me so many things that I've written about, that I can write about, that I could speak about. But it's purity. And it's about mercy. It's about sanctified grace, sanctified grace. It's about being able to say a prayer for each other, to pray for each other, to go into deep meditation, to wish your neighbor well. It's about that sense of divine mercy. Our greatest gifts are the ones that we usually can't see because they're so well hidden behind the programming that we forget that we are so much more than our thoughts, the false identity, so much more than our egos, and so much more than what we thought we should be. Today, my message is for you to open your hearts, to look deeper, to not be judgmental and criticize, to flood social media with absolute love and light. Everywhere, everywhere. Send love, send light. Just swamp it full. Dance, sing, share music videos of happiness, joy, whatever it may be. Don't let it win. Don't let the stories and the dehumanizing of human, don't let them break the bridge. It is just, we have damage done, but we can restore and replenish, and we can reconnect to the human race, and that we can see each other and have dignity and honor each other and be there for each other and be that respect for each other, to not to let the words of another attack your emotions, to trigger an old response for you to behave, respond a certain way, for you to see people as these labels that has been labeled throughout. Remove the labels, open your eyes wide open, look beyond everything that you're seeing and see the heart of the matter. And when you see the heart of the matter, you will be able to see you in each and every other person, because we all have one similar story. And that is that our hearts have been all affected. And we all are doing things from our heart to a certain degree. Time for us to shine, for us to live in the light, for us to repair that bridge. Compassion, care enough to want to learn something new today. Care enough to want to discover a little bit more. Care enough to open your eyes, to open your heart and look beyond everything that you are being sold, everything that you're being pushed into, everything that you fear. Beyond your fear is courage. Beyond your fear is life. Beyond your fear is freedom. Purify your heart, purify your thought, purify your vision, and allow yourself to come into a place of living divinely dignified. Much love. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.